job. Say thank you. I ain't gotta say thank you. Bitch, this is my house. This is my city.
Viewers had always appreciated Rasheeda and Yandy's relationship. Both ladies had persevered through the never-ending storms of reality TV and were powerful and vocal. Supporters had witnessed them share laughs, celebrate wins, and stand by one another when drama threatened to bring them down. They were great friends who supported one another, not simply co-stars. However, as love and hip-hop history has demonstrated, nothing is ever truly tranquil. Behind the scenes, rumors were the first to circulate. Rasheeda, who was still struggling with trust difficulties that seemed to come up again every time the cameras rolled, had been discreetly working through her own issues with Kirk. In the meantime, Yandy was attempting to establish herself as one of the cast's most respected voices, while balancing her complex connection with Mendices. Their friendship was supposed to be a safe haven, but external meddling and the strain of the show gradually started to weaken it. Rasheeda made a lighthearted remark on Yandy's choice to go to a recent event without talking to her during a laid-back brunch filming session. Although it appeared innocuous at first, Yandy saw it as a covert jab. To everyone's surprise at the table, Yandy abruptly said, "I don't need to check in with anyone to show up for myself." Surprised, Rasheeda attempted to dismiss it with a joke. "I didn't intend it that way, girl. I simply mentioned how much I would have enjoyed rolling through with you." However, the harm had already been done. Tension started to build behind the cameras after that brief interaction. The brilliant producer, Mona Scott-Young, saw the tension and understood that it equaled ratings gold. She made sure the unresolved energy would surface by setting up further collaborative filming sessions with
Job. Say thank you. I ain't gotta say thank you. Bitch, this is my house. This is my city.
with Rasheeda and Yandy. Mona only grinned, despite producers whispering that she was intentionally fueling the flames. "I don't make things dramatic. I simply capture it," she remarked. Never one to pass up a chance, Erica Mena saw the fissures developing. Rasheeda had been discussing with others how Yandy always made things about herself, she casually told Yandy. Yandy's eyebrow went up. "Oh, really? That's what she said?" Erica, in the meantime, gave Rasheeda another account, claiming that Yandy had grumbled about Rasheeda's pretends to be everyone's big sister. Actually, neither woman had made those statements outright. However, Erica's remarks fueled a little fire. The air was thick with unsaid words by the time Rasheeda and Yandy sat down for another filming session. Despite her best efforts to remain composed, Rasheeda's voice was piercing. "I've heard that you've been feeling a certain way about me." Yandy did not recoil. "I could pose the same query to you. Numerous reports regarding what you've been saying behind my back are being told to me." Every stare, every pause, and every breath between the two women was captured by the cameras as they zoomed in. The anxiety was evident even if viewers at home were unaware of what was going to blow up. Young Jock, who frequently served as the arbitrator in cast conflicts, attempted to diffuse the tension by using comedy. "I thought you guys were closer than peanut butter and jelly, man. What's happening?" However, neither Yandy nor Rasheeda felt like cracking jokes. Rasheeda angrily said, "Jock, don't play with me. My so-called best friend may speak directly to me if she has something to say." Yandy retaliated in a forceful voice. "You wish to have it in your face? All right. You always attempt to check on me like you're my mother, and I don't like that. Rasheeda, I already have too much on my plate. You don't have to add to it." There was silence at the table. Social media exploded when the show aired. The rifts that were beginning to show were shocking to those who had loved Rasheeda and Yandy's friendship. The hashtags #RLHHDrama, #OurBestiesNoMore, and Rasheeda's Yandy were popular. Some admirers took Rasheeda's side, describing her as devoted and misunderstood. Others supported Yandy, arguing that she was entitled to defend herself. "After everything we've been through, I can't believe Yandy's acting like this," Rasheeda said to Kirk behind closed doors. "I'm not even sure whether I can still trust her. She thinks she can control me, but I'm not letting anyone run my life," Yandy said at Mendices in the meanwhile. Not Mona, not her, nor anybody. The love and hip-hop stage seems to have changed in vibe. The vibe had changed from one of sisterhood, laughter, and countless selfies of Rasheeda and Yandy to one of acridness, bitterness, and tension. Fans were horrified by the consequences from their furious disagreement and producers quickly reenacted every moment of the altercation for maximum drama. However, feelings were not predetermined behind the cameras. Rasheeda sat with her close pals and mentally reenacted the battle. "I never thought Yandy would drag me like that on camera," she said, her voice shaking. She opted to point the finger at me even though she is aware of my difficulties and my suffering with Kirk. For Rasheeda, it was about betrayal more than the battle. Yandy had been family, not simply a co-star. Yandy, however, complained to her own supporters. Fire and unrepentant, she paced the room. Rasheeda presents herself as flawless. However, how often did I fill in for her? When she was grieving over Kirk, how many times did I keep her secrets? She wants to pretend that I'm the issue now? Her emotions were bubbling over, and her words were honest. The fan base soon became divided into two factions. Some hurried to defend Rasheeda, saying Yandy's public charges caught her off guard. Others took Yandy's side, applauding her for being honest and speaking up while others were afraid to do so. The hashtags Tadinch Team Rasheeda and Chashram Team Yandy went viral on social media, transforming the battle into a platform-wide trending conflict. However, when Mona Scott, the creative force behind Love and Hip Hop, intervened, the scene became much more heated. Drama was nothing new to Mona. In fact, she loved it. But even she was concerned about the weight of this confrontation between Rasheeda and Yandy. Due to their lengthy history with the program, both ladies ran the danger of upending the fan favorite relationship. Nevertheless, Mona was aware that conflict generated viewers, and viewers meant the franchise would survive. Mona summoned Rasheeda for a secret meeting behind closed doors. She talked slowly, attempting to strike a compromise between her producer's intuition and her own concerns. "Look, the audience wants a resolution, even if I know Yandy wounded you. Fans are curious to see how the friendship you two formed on television develops. I can arrange for you and Yandy to have a private meeting to discuss the situation if you're open to it." With doubtful eyes, Rasheeda folded her arms. "You don't get it, Mona. Yandy exposed me rather than merely arguing with me. She betrayed our confidence. This is a personal matter, not a rating issue." Mona, in the meantime, contacted Yandy, who was still furious but also worn out from the internet criticism. Yandy's tone was abrasive. Rasheeda is to blame if she chooses to play the victim. However, I'm not sorry for being honest. I've already suppressed too much. It was obvious that reconciliation would not be simple. Public gatherings were affected by the tension. Rasheeda and Yandy met in person for the first time after their split at a star-studded celebration that was attended by almost all of the Yikes big figures in Love and Hip Hop. The audience was humming with excitement as the cameras got prepared. The room changed when they saw one another. Yandy didn't like Rasheeda's attempt to pass in silence. Loud enough for everyone to hear, she yelled, "So, Rasheeda, you're simply going to ignore me? After all?" The audience let out a gasp. Rasheeda hesitated, then spun around, her voice calm but laced with pain. "You ensured that everyone witnessed my suffering, Yandy. You want to confront me once more now? I owe you nothing at all." The conversation swiftly descended into a heated dispute, with each statement becoming more and more pointed. Despite efforts by others to separate them, the harm was irreparable. These two ladies were no longer sisters or friends. The world was watching, and suddenly they were competitors. Social media was ablaze with fans when the program aired. Everywhere, timelines were crowded with ferocious conversations, response videos, and memes. On the show, the relationship that formerly stood for solidarity and strength was lamented by several spectators. Others acknowledged that they were eagerly awaiting the next exciting chapter in the new competition. However, behind the glamour of TV, Rasheeda and Yandy were left wondering whether their relationship was really lost forever, or whether there was still hope for mending the damage. Rasheeda and Yandy's dispute had grown beyond their personal relationship and attracted the attention of their partners, family members, and other cast members. Every fracture in the previously strong foundation of the Love and Hip Hop sisterhood was being aired for the world to see. Rasheeda withdrew home to Kirk Frost following their heated dispute at the party. Despite the fragility of their own marriage, Kirk shocked supporters by taking on the role of protector. In one of his rare moments of serenity, he sat next to her and said, "You don't need to let Yandy break you down." I've been through worse than you have. Tell her that you won't back down if she wants conflict. Given his past betrayals, Rasheeda found his statements to be both humorous and soothing. But Kirk was now standing next to her, and she realized she needed help. Yandy turned to Mendices, her spouse, on the opposite side, as she raged about Rasheeda Chow. Unwillingness to make amends, he listened carefully. Mendices, I've kept her secrets. When the cameras weren't rolling, I stood up for her. She is suddenly behaving as though I am the bad guy. Mendices nodded and put his hand on hers. This is what occurs when people don't want the truth to be known, darling. Don't worry, though, you have me and you're not by yourself. Erica Mina arrived on the scene, adding to the already high level of tension. Drama followed Erica like a shadow because of her personal past with both Rasheeda and Yandy. Erica made a shocking statement over a sit-down dinner that was taped for the show. Let's be real. Yandy and Rasheeda were never as close as they claimed to be. Yandy has always been strategic, and Rasheeda has always been on her guard. This altercation, it was inevitable. Another chain reaction was triggered by her statements. Rasheeda felt trapped, as though her devotion was now being questioned by everyone. Encouraged by Erica's remarks, Yandy resorted to the claim that Rasheeda had always been a conditional friend. At this point, the dispute had intensified and was becoming a spectacle in which everyone was taking sides. As she observed the mayhem, Mona Scott couldn't resist estimating the possible viewership. She was aware of the high risks, though. Yandy and Rasheeda were more than simply characters. They were the foundation of the program. The dynamic of the entire ensemble might be shattered if the altercation got out of control. Mona nonetheless leaned into the maelstrom, creating group scenarios that compelled the two ladies to share areas. The outcomes were shocking. Rasheeda and Yandy argued, once more over a cast breakfast intended to clear the air. Tentative stillness gave way to verbal pyrotechnics. Rasheeda was accused by Yandy of being phony and displaying loyalty only while the cameras were rolling. Rasheeda retaliated by accusing Yandy of being cunning and exploiting her suffering, as a plot point. Glasses clinked, voices raised, and even other actors were pulled in. Kirk immediately defended Rasheeda by accusing Yandy of crossing lines that friends shouldn't cross. Mendices intervened and supported his wife, which resulted in a heated argument between the two men. The cameras recorded every heated moment as what was intended to be a brunch descended into a near riot. Social media exploded. Replaying night footage of Kirk and Mendices fighting, fans argued over who would have prevailed if the altercation had gotten more heated. New hashtags, such as Kirk vs Mendices and Brunch Battle, have emerged, but hashtags like D Team Rasheeda and Chia Team Yandy are trending once again. The conflict had evolved into a fight involving marriages, reputations, and devotion rather than merely friendship. One incident stuck out among the confusion. Rasheeda sobbed after yet another altercation and said to her best friend, "I don't even recognize her anymore. How did we arrive here? It was intended that we would be sisters." Fans were moved by that unadulterated passion, which demonstrated the agonizing expense of public backlash. However, it was still unclear if there was any chance of reconciliation or if the friendship had reached a breaking point. After weeks of building, the storm finally reached a breaking point. The creator of the love and hip-hop empire, Mona Scott, was aware that the entire ensemble may be torn apart if this dispute was not settled. She set up a last meeting, an intimate sit-down between Rasheeda and Yandy, because of the weight of cameras, contracts, and ratings. The spot was picked with care, a modern, quiet lounge in Atlanta, with just 2 chairs facing one another and low lighting. Just the 2 ex-friends and their realities, with no background noise or distractions. Rasheeda's body language was rigid, and her eyes were fierce as she entered. Yandy came soon after, bearing the burden of disappointment and rage in equal measure. Even the production team avoided the situation because of the high level of tension in the air. "Ladies, this is your chance," Mona told them both as she sat just off camera. "You can choose to fight for this friendship or to permanently leave." Rasheeda spoke first, her tone firm yet tinged with pain. "I never imagined that we would be here, Yandy. My sister was intended to be you. After everything we've been through together, you're calling me phony? As unfaithful? You don't realize how deeply it stings." Yandy leaned forward, her voice impassioned, yet protective. I supported you through everything, including your tears and your turmoil with Kirk, Rasheeda. What did I receive? Quiet. When I needed you, you abandoned me. You couldn't support me the way you wanted me to support you. By the second, the conversation became more abrasive. Their statements revealed years of repressed emotions in addition to the enmity. Yandy was accused by Rasheeda of using private talks for the show's benefit. Yandy retaliated angrily, saying Rasheeda had excluded her as the situation became serious. Every allegation reopened old scars like a dagger. Then something changed. The rage softened into something more vulnerable for the first time in weeks. You hurt me, Yandy, Rasheeda said, her voice breaking. It was because I trusted you, not because of the cameras or the program. Furthermore, I'm not sure whether I can anymore. Yandy's hard exterior broke as tears filled her eyes. Rasheeda, I never wanted to lose you. However, I cannot fight for this friendship alone. Perhaps we were never truly sisters in the first place, if we are unable to be honest with one another. There was silence in the room. Mona's gaze flicked back and forth between them, wondering if this was the beginning or the finish. Rasheeda got up at last. She hesitated before turning back to Yandy and reached for a glass of water. I'll always love the sister I had in you, she said in a gentle but powerful voice. But I can't endure the suffering indefinitely. Perhaps we should follow our own paths. Yandy nodded slowly, but she was clearly scared. Perhaps you are correct. I wish things weren't this way. It was over in an instant. Just two women understanding that sometimes even the greatest ties can't withstand the weight of pride and betrayal. No spectacular embrace, no instant reunion. Yandy sat silently, gazing at the floor as Rasheeda left. This will affect everything, Mona muttered to herself. She was correct, too. The consequences were immediate. Devastated at the formal termination of Rasheeda and Yandy's friendship, fans erupted online. Rasheeda was accused of being chilly by some, while Yandy was accused of being deceptive by others. However, there was no denying that this quarrel had permanently changed the love and hip-hop scene. For the first time, viewers were witnessing a real-time sisterhood break rather than merely a plot. Friendship Over marked Rasheeda vs. Yandy, and Dodger Love and Hip-Hop History were the hashtags that revealed the narrative. In their individual confessionals, Rasheeda and Yandy were shown in the last scene wiping away their tears and acknowledging the same reality. It will never be the same again. With that, one of the most tragic and memorable feuds the program had ever witnessed came to an end.